Hi, welcome. I'm Baltazar Palaris Jr., studying Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education in Mount Carmel College of Kasiguran, 3rd year. Your discussant in Assessment in Learning 2, Tech 9. Inevitably, 21st century is here. One area that is greatly affected is the assessment of the 21st century learners. But before that, let us first define what is assessment. Assessment. It is defined as a process of obtaining information that is used to make educational decisions about learners. To give feedback to learners about his or her progress, strengths, and weaknesses. To judge instructional effectiveness and curricular adequacy, and to inform policy. Now, how do we construct or make assessment? How do we make sure that our assessment are authentic and reliable in testing our student progress and ability? How do we treat and execute this assessment correctly? Join me in this video lesson and let us discover together what are the characteristics of a 21st century assessment. The characteristics of 21st century assessments are essential guide for preparational of assessment activities by educators. Characteristics of 21st century assessment: responsive, flexible, integrated, informative, multiple methods, communicated, technically sound, systemic. Responsive, feasible performance-based work generates data that inform curriculum and instruction. Example, I discuss about literature and literary works. For me to know if the class understood the lesson, I will conduct a formative assessment. In a 1/4 sheet of paper, the student will answer the question, how does literature mirrors your life? And what literary work that mirrors your life? Flexible assessment need to be adaptable to students' settings rather than the identical approach that works in traditional assessment. 21st century approaches are more versatile. Example, I let my students have a survey on their multiple intelligences. After that, I group my students according to their intelligence and let them have creative presentation. Integrated assessments are to be incorporated into day-to-day practice rather than as add-ons at the end of instructions during a single specified week of the school calendar. Example, you assess your students from time to time because assessments are not just given at the end. You give your students formative assessments rather than just giving them summative assessments. Informative. The desired 21st century goals and objectives are clearly stated and implicitly taught. Students display their range of emerging knowledge and skills. Exemplars routinely guide students toward achievement of targets. Example, before you start your class, see to it that your students are aware of the goals and objectives. With that, your students will be guided with their achievements. Multiple methods, an assessment continuum that includes a spectrum of strategies in the norm. Example, your students have different intelligences. See to it that you don't focus on only one way of assessing their learnings. Communication of assessment data is clear and transparent for all stakeholders. Example, you let your students keep track of their progress by returning their papers or evaluation sheets. See to it that you submit your students' grade on time for their parents to be aware of their child or children's achievements. Technically sound. Adjustments and accommodations are made in the assessment process to meet the students' needs and fairness. Example, make sure that your assessments are valid, reliable, and supports comparisons since your students have different intelligences, beliefs, gender, and socioeconomic groups. Systemic 21st century assessment is part of a comprehensive and well-aligned assessment system that is balanced and inclusive of all students, constituents, and stakeholders and designed to support improvements at all levels. Example, changes are inevitable, so make sure that you are able to identify the needs of your students and the community. With that, you will be able to develop your students into globally competitive individuals. Responsive, flexible, integrated, informative, multiple methods, communicated, technically sound, systemic. The 21st century skills of the learners need to be considered in the assessment process. It is necessary to refer to these characteristics to ensure that the learners are being assessed towards the skills and demands of the 21st century. Thank you for spending time with me. I hope you gain information from this video lesson. Goodbye and God bless.